What is up, YouTube? What is up, fellow fantasy people? And of course, what is up, the Catch fam? You already know what time it is, man. We are rolling right into another mock draft. This one requested by our guy Maxwell, wanted to see an 8-man mock draft with the 4th overall selection, entailing the best strategy. So we will primarily be going RB heavy here. Super stoked as always to hop right into this one. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, man. If you are not already subscribed, like, at this point, over 90% of our viewers are still not subscribed. What are you waiting for, man? Go ahead and hit the button. If you do find this video enjoyable or helpful in any way, go ahead and smash that like button while you're down there as well. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. We will be targeting, really with a 4th overall selection in an 8-man league. I mean, obviously you're going running back, right? So really your top target's going to be like Ezekiel Elliott, Derrick Henry, maybe Kamara, depending on where you're drafting through. I mean, I think Kamara is not fairly rated at 5 overall. That's where he sits on Yahoo's platform. So in this mock draft, we may be targeting Alvin Kamara, but don't be surprised if he goes within these first 3 selections as well, as we see that of Christian McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook. And now we'll probably see either Zeke, Kamara, or Henry off the board here. I mean, you guys know that I'm huge on that of Derrick Henry, but I don't mind the selection of Zeke or Alvin Kamara here. And honestly, I'm not going to blame you if you go out and get Nick Chubb or Aaron Jones as well. I mean, these first 7 running backs are so valuable in so many ways that you really can't go wrong with selecting any of them. So there goes Zeke. Let's go out and, for the sake of this mock draft, let's go ahead and get Alvin Kamara. I mean, you guys know where I stand with Derrick Henry, my 2nd rated running back overall, RB1 on the season last year. I mean, I don't have enough good things to say about that of Derrick Henry, as we see our first receiver off the board and that of Devontae Adams. So we started this draft very well. I mean, we got Alvin Kamara. We still got the 13th overall selection. So we will probably be targeting another running back there, as we can still go out and get a very strong value like an Antonio Gibson or a Najee Harris. And Najee Harris being ranked 19th overall, I don't think you're going to see him fall, that late in a lot of actual drafts come draft time. So let me know in the comments down below when you guys are actually doing your drafts for your personal fantasy leagues. My main league I play in isn't drafting until the Wednesday night before the first game, which would be September 8th. So I've got quite some time. My 20-man league, I don't know the exact date, but I'm just curious to see when you guys are drafting and how much preparation you need leading up to that point and whatnot. So with the 7th selection, we saw Nick Chubb, followed by that of Aaron Jones with the 8th overall selection here. The top of the 2nd round, we've got Travis Kelce off the board. And now we've got 3 more selections until we pick. We still have Saquon Barkley sitting here. Well, he just got selected, never mind. But Tyreek Hill still sitting here, Jonathan Taylor, Stephon Diggs. I'll say this much. You can still end up pretty running back heavy with going running back receiver in an 8-man league. So if Stephon Diggs is still sitting here, or DeAndre Hopkins, which either one is going to be sitting here, right? I think we can turn around and with that 20th selection, still get a pretty valuable running back like a Najee Harris. It would be great if we could go out and snag Stephon Diggs and see Najee Harris fall to us. So for the sake of the mock draft, let's go ahead and try it. Nonetheless, we started with a great RB1 and a great wide receiver 1. Don't forget, in 8-man leagues, you have a little bit more flexibility overall to go out and reach for players that you like, because you're going to be able to build a lot more depth overall, being that there are only 8 people selecting overall. So nonetheless, we would love to see Najee Harris fall to us here, but a lot of people, like I already alluded to, are very high on Najee Harris. I have seen Najee Harris going in top 10s, easily in the top 15. Come closer to week 1, I think he is going to be a lot higher on draft boards overall, especially with the fact that we have seen the Pittsburgh Steelers look pretty all right in the preseason. I mean, take it with a grain of salt, sure, but nonetheless, this Pittsburgh Steelers team went 11-0 at a point last year. I mean, finished out the year very poorly, right? But nonetheless, I think offensively they are going to be very, very relevant this year. So we've seen after my selection of Stephon Diggs, Jonathan Taylor, and Calvin Ridley off the board, followed by the second tight end in this draft, and that of Darren Waller, and now DeAndre Hopkins to kick off the third round. So Antonio Gibson still sitting here, as well as Joe Mixon. So our top target is going to be Najee Harris. Najee Harris, excuse me. I'm the highest, out of these three running backs. That's the guy I like the most, as DK Metcalf's off the board. But three really good running backs falling here. So that selection of Stephon Diggs definitely worked out for us. We went out and we got an extremely elite wide receiver one, and now we have our choice of both Joe Mixon and Najee Harris. I historically pass on rookies, and that is something that I do not want to do this year, at least rookies at the running back position, right? I've passed on all of them: Zeke, Saquon, I mean, you name them, right? And it always bites me in the ass. So I'm not passing on Najee Harris this year. I'll tell you that much. Now, last year I chose Derrick Henry over Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I guess that one did bite me in the ass, but nonetheless. So we've started this draft out with two stud running backs and a stud wide receiver, man. I mean, it would be crazy if we could go out and snag Patrick Mahomes with his 29th overall selection. And really, when we're talking best strategy in an 8-man league, uh, 8-man leagues, you got to be, willing to be a little flexible and be willing to evaluate things as they come. But nonetheless, I think it's important to load up at the running back position, because you can get so many stud running backs in an 8-man league, right? But the tight end position, you can either go out and get a guy early because you're going to have the flexibility to load up at other positions throughout the draft. But if you don't, I think it's okay to hold off at tight end in an 8-man league. But nonetheless, we're going to go out and we're going to target Patrick Mahomes here, as Josh Allen is off the board. We've seen a lot of good talent after that selection of Najee Harris, Joe Mixon, A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, and Chris Carson to finish the third round. And here in the fourth round, we've seen J.K. Dobbins as well as Josh Allen. We still have Allen Robinson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire sitting here. I know he's dealing with that ankle sprain, but nonetheless, I would take a chance on Clyde Edwards-Helaire here, as we see Patrick Mahomes selected 27th overall, which is okay. I mean, that would have been a tremendous value to this roster as Allen Robinson goes off the board. But you guys know who I'm picking, and if he's sitting there, man, David Montgomery is my guy. I think it's an excellent addition to this roster. I love where he's projected, right around 1,100 rushing yards. I won't be surprised if that number is a little bit higher, right around 10 touchdowns, 343 receiving yards and receiving touchdown. Nonetheless, if this is a guy you're getting as your third running back on your fantasy squad, that's a tremendous value. I mean, if I'm wrong on this, no one is ever going to watch this channel again, but I really don't think I'm wrong on this one. This is a guy that I have a lot of conviction in, as we now see. We've seen Terry McLaurin pick 30th, followed by Clyde Edwards-Helaire falling to 31 overall. I think that that's a very good value. We contemplated picking him with that 29th overall selection, even with him dealing with an injury. But we've got a lot of good receivers here. James Robinson, man. I'm all for drafting James Robinson at this point. You guys already saw me high on him with Travis Etienne in that backfield. We never wish for injury on anyone. But this injury has really opened things up for James Robinson being the RB1 in that offense. We saw what he did in his rookie year. Man, this is a guy that you need to go out and target. This is a guy very similar to David Montgomery, who I don't believe should be falling this far in mock drafts. I think he's a lock for 1,000 rushing yards and about 7 to 9 touchdowns and some receiving game work. Let's go out and get him. An absolutely loaded team at the running back position. Alvin Kamara, Najee Harris, David Montgomery, and James Robinson. I am very, very happy with those four guys leading this mock draft, as we see that of Darrell Henderson off the board, dealing with that injury. And now the LA Rams have gone out and traded for Sony Michel from the New England Patriots. So a lot of fantasy implications from that move, a lot of fantasy implications from the injury of Travis Etienne, and then a lot of fantasy implications for the New England Patriots within this trade, as well as a lot of fantasy implications from the Denver Broncos naming their starting quarterback. So we'll probably do some individual videos kind of breaking those things down as we see Mike Evans, CeeDee Lamb, and now Tyler Lockett all off the board, followed by the selection of Russell Wilson. Josh Jacobs is sitting here, and I'm not afraid to do it. I mean, there's a lot of good talent sitting here. Lamar Jackson and Julio Jones are both available. Mark Andrews and TJ Hawkinson at the tight end position are available. There's a lot of good picks here, man. I don't think we're going to go wrong if we want to go out and get a guy like Robert Woods or Julio or Brandon Ayuk, right? A lot of good receivers we could add to this roster, but I think there's just so much depth already at the receiver position, as well as so much more depth in an 8-man league that I'm not sure that we're going to necessarily need to do it. I mean, Josh Jacobs is sitting there. We've gone so RB heavy already. And there goes Lamar Jackson. That was the guy I was really considering taking here. I would either pick a receiver just to add some wide receiver one value to this roster since we only have that of Stephon Diggs, but I really want to pick Josh Jacobs here and move right along. Let's just add even more crazy depth at the running back position. And now we feel very strongly that we are going to have 3 starting running backs in our lineup every week who are going to be putting up big numbers. So I have no problem with the way that this roster has started. And now, with only 4 more picks until we select again, I think we have a shot of getting a Julio Jones or a Robert Woods. Now, it's relatively likely that all of these receivers that we like go before our next selection at 52 as Cooper Kupp is off the board. But even if we get an Amari Cooper, Robert Woods, a DJ Moore, Brandon Ayuk, Julio Jones, Adam Thielen, I mean, these guys present very similar fantasy value in my mind. And nonetheless, we have Stephon Diggs on this roster to lead us. Robert Woods is off the board. In my personal opinion, that makes Julio my top target, but Brandon Ayuk and DJ Moore are great targets here as well. Nonetheless, let's go out and let's just snag up Julio, Amari Cooper, and Adam Thielen also available. A lot of good receivers. Go check out our receiver rankings videos, specifically 13 through 24, which will go over a lot of those guys who are just available. There's a lot of good fantasy value between those guys as we see Mark Andrews and TJ Hawkinson off of the board. We also saw the selection of Dak Prescott. So we've held out at the quarterback position and really loaded up in terms of the skill position, including running back. And let's just check out, I mean, a lot of good quarterbacks left for us to target now. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Hurts, Ryan Tannehill, Matthew Stafford, and all those rookie guys all sitting there. And let's check out the tight end position. We've got a lot of good players. I mean, Robert Tonyan and Mike Gesicki are still sitting here. You guys know that those are primarily my top targets. But with 2 more selections until we pick again, we may be able to go out and get another receiver, a very good value here. And the only guy, I mean, I like Deontay Johnson here, and I like DJ Moore a lot here. Let's go ahead and add DJ Moore, someone who I think is a sure lock for at least 1,100 receiving yards and at least 5 touchdowns. So at this point in the draft, a fantastic value to this roster at the skill position. And then we're going to actually go out and we're going to target my guy, Jerry Jeudy here. And then we're going to move to the quarterback and tight end position. And I think we will end up with a great, very valuable roster overall. So here in the 8th round, we have seen nothing but receivers and defenses off the board. So a couple of these are live drafters and a couple of these are auto drafters. So, I mean, uh, don't be surprised if people go out and get defenses. And in an 8-man league, you can go out and start selecting them relatively early. But nonetheless, in an 8-man league, you're going to see more defenses fall through to you. So I would not stress out at the defensive position. So we were talking about selecting Jerry Jeudy here, but I think it's very possible he falls to us with that 77th selection. Um, but nonetheless, I want to go out and get him and just lock him up and have him on this roster. You guys know how much conviction I have in Jerry Jeudy, and I think with the Denver Broncos naming their starting quarterback of Teddy Bridgewater, there's even more reason to go out and get him. But let's move on to the quarterback position as we have built a very, very explosive roster. I'm going to scoop my face over and let's see. Yeah, I love this roster, man. Stephon Diggs, Julio, DJ Moore, and Jerry Jeudy at the wide receiver position. And just look at our running backs. I'm not even going to name them. We have built a great roster as we are seeing kickers, receivers, and defenses off of the board. And we'll go ahead and we will fix all of this and we will move me back over here. And then let's see. Actually, I'm going to scoop myself one more time. And then, okay, sorry, guys. Here we go. All right, so T. Higgins off the board as well as Mike Davis and, excuse me, that of Damian Harris. Really good values here in Damian Harris and Mike Davis at this point in the draft. And there goes Myles Gaskin. We know that we need a quarterback on this team. Let's go ahead and check the tight end position. Tyler Higbee is still available as well. Kareem Hunt is sitting here looking like a very, very valuable. Let's do it. We already went RB heavy. We were asked for the best strategy available, and for me, it's RB heavy all day. We will finish out this roster with a few tight ends and quarterbacks, and then we will call it a day. And we're going to go out and we're going to get one or two quarterbacks and then one or two tight ends, and we are going to have an absolutely loaded roster in this 8-man mock draft. Don't I mean you can hate on Kareem Hunt all you want, but he's RB10 on the season last year. And when we look at the depth that we already have at the running back position, the sure RB1s that we already have, I have no problem whatsoever going out and selecting Kareem Hunt there. But now we do need to move along onto the quarterback position. A lot of very good targets here. I do think it's going to value this roster more if we go out and select two quarterbacks and just one tight end. If this were one of my personal drafts, I would probably forfeit a kicker and try and target two tight ends overall. But for the sake of this mock draft, we'll just go out and do two QBs and one tight end and a true kicker defense roster. So for me, Tom Brady's our top target. I like Aaron Rodgers a lot here too. It's possible he falls to us, but let's go out and get Tom Brady. If Aaron Rodgers does not get selected, we will go ahead and pick him up next. If he does get selected, we'll shoot for Ryan Tannehill or Matt Stafford. And don't be sleeping on my guy Tua, and don't be sleeping on some of these rookie quarterbacks, man. Trey Lance, Justin Fields, mac and cheese, man. And even keep your eyes on Zach Wilson, man. I don't know how confident I am in drafting Zach Wilson compared to some of the other rookies, but I mean, he's looked really good in some preseason action. Granted that the Packers didn't have any starters on the field defensively when he last played, but nonetheless, he looks really good. So just keep an eye on those rookie quarterbacks. Maybe not in an 8-man league, but in your deeper league, some of those guys need to be on your draft boards and at least considered. So speaking of rookies, Jamar Chase looking relatively scary from a fantasy perspective from what we've seen thus far in the preseason out of him. But I really hope that Jamar Chase can get things turned around and we see some chemistry when Joe Burrow's on the field, because I certainly think he can be an exceptional talent at the NFL level. So two more selections until we pick, and there goes Aaron Rodgers, man. He's off the board. Would have been a great value, but we've got a really good selection. We know we're going to get another one of these guys that we really like. Jalen Hurts, I think, would be a great pickup here, but let's go with a little bit of a safer pick, in my opinion, and that of Ryan Tannehill. And now we will move right along onto the tight end position. And I think, once again, no matter who we end up with, as Tyler Higbee is now selected, we're going to end up with a very good tight end. I'm probably going to target my guy Robert Tanyan, another guy who, if I'm wrong on, no one's ever going to watch this channel on channel again. Excuse me, but uh, I have a lot of firm conviction in that of Robert Tanyan, and I think he's going to have a great year. I like where he's projected. I wouldn't be surprised if his receiving yards are a little bit lower than 750, but yeah, I don't see any reason why he can't put up 7 to 8 touchdowns this year, coming off of a season where he tied Travis Kelce for the most touchdowns by a tight end in the league, as we have seen some other players selected here, in that of Deebo Samuel and Matthew Stafford to end the 12th round. And now at the top of the 13th round, we have that of James Conner selected, maybe a very sneaky value at this point in the draft. But nonetheless, we are going to be targeting Robert Tanyan, and I wouldn't really hate the selection of Dallas Goedert or even Noah Fant with how easy Noah Fant's strength of schedule is this year. Um, Not really a big fan of Irv Smith. We just haven't really seen him in a full season. I could be completely wrong about that, but he's just someone I'm staying away from. So, nonetheless, let's go out and snag Robert Tanyan and look at this roster, man. I think this is a great roster with the personal strategy I would try and follow in an 8-man league, and I think we ended up with some really good value. I mean, we'll go ahead and start breaking this down. At the quarterback position, we've got that of Tom Brady and Ryan Tannehill, some very good late round value overall there. At the receiver position, we took that chance on Stephon Diggs, and man, did it pay out, right? We got an elite wide receiver one, someone pretty much consistently ranked as the wide receiver 3 on the year, and I think he's going to have a baller year just like he did last year, man. But to add to that, we went out and we got Julio Jones, DJ Moore, and Jerry Jeudy. So we waited, and we took a lot of running backs over wide receivers, but I think we ended up with 4 very good values at the wide receiver position. I'm very happy with those 4 guys overall. At the tight end selection, you just saw it. We went out and we got Robert Tanyan. I'm happy as with Robert Tanyan as my tight end 1. I wouldn't mind forfeiting a kicker and going out and targeting Mike Gesicki, but nonetheless, we'd have to drop someone by the start of week 1, which could be a difficult decision. And 8-man leagues, that's kind of the challenge, is you're going to have to make difficult decisions. The waiver wire is going to be full of talent when your draft is over. There's going to be a lot of talent left over. Your bench week in and week out is going to be full of talent, and you're really going to have to make some tough decisions on who to start every week. So we will come back to the running backs in a second, as we have defensive selection up on the board. And I'm going to go out and I'm just going to pick up the Colts. I think they're going to have another great defensive year, as they put up 145 points on average last year from a fantasy perspective. So let's break down these running backs, man. I mean, I don't know if you can stop a team that's got Alvin Kamara, Najee Harris, David Montgomery, James Robinson, Josh Jacobs, and Kareem Hunt. Say what you want about these kind of bench and flex guys, David Montgomery, James Robinson, Josh Jacobs, and Kareem Hunt, but I would be completely confident if I have the ability to flex those couple of guys and 2 receivers I have a lot of conviction in on my bench slash flex area. So, hey, I am super happy with this roster overall. I think we did a great job of going out and selecting running backs when we did, and selecting receivers when we did, and still getting very, very good overall value. Pretty even par overall at the quarterback position, and a very good tight end 1, in my opinion. So I think we made a very even roster with a lot of value across the board. So we will go ahead and we're going to target Rodrigo Blankenship or Jason Sanders here. Jason Sanders had a monster fantasy year last year, as did Rodrigo Blankenship. But since we picked the Colts defense, we'll pick Miami's kicker here. So nonetheless, a great roster in my personal opinion. As always, I thank you all for watching and or listening. If you did enjoy this video or find it helpful in any way, go ahead and smash that like button, man. It really, truly does help give the channel a little boost in the algorithm. And as always, man, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, baby. You know you need a little bit of the catch in your life, man, day in and day out. A ton of our viewers are not subscribed, man. That truly helps out the channel more than anything. So if you found this helpful or enjoyable, I kindly ask that you at least consider subscribing. And once again, I thank you all for watching and or listening. This was a blast as always, and thank you to our guy Maxwell for recommending this draft and wanting to see it play out. And with that, I say, you saw it here on The Catch.